It was a warm September night in 2022 in the heart of Streatham, South London. A sleek Audi Q8 roared through the quiet streets, unaware it was being tailed by an unmarked police car. At 10:07 p.m., in the narrow confines of Kirkstall Gardens, armed officers closed in, boxing the vehicle in a tactical, hard stop. The driver, 24-year-old Chris Kaba, revved the engine, ramming police cars in a desperate bid to escape. Then, a single shot cracked through the night. A bullet fired through the Audi's windscreen, striking Kaba in the head. He slumped over the wheel, his life slipping away as officers shouted, "Shots fired!" But who was Chris Kaba? A father-to-be, a rising drill rapper, or a core member of one of London's most dangerous gangs? And why did Sergeant Martyn Blake, a seasoned firearms officer, pull the trigger? Was this a justified act of protection or an execution rooted in prejudice? The answers remain shrouded in rage, mistrust, and a city divided. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new here, hit subscribe and join our growing community unraveling the UK's darkest cases. Like, share, and turn on notifications to never miss a story. Now, brace yourself. We're diving into the life, death, and explosive aftermath of Chris Kaba, a case that's torn open London's wounds. To understand the killing of Chris Kaba, we have to go back to where it started. A single gunshot that ripped through the heart of Brixton, igniting a chain of events that would shake London to its core. On September 4th, 2022, at 11:45 p.m., the vibrant streets of South London pulsed with energy. Outside a primary school on St. John's Crescent, a shotgun blast shattered the night. Shadowy figures, moving with intent, fired in what police suspected was a targeted gang strike, then fled in a black Audi Q8. No one was hit, but the echo of that shot lingered. The Audi's license plates triggered the Metropolitan Police's automatic number plate recognition system, marking it as a vehicle tied to a firearms incident. Within hours, armed units were mobilized, their sights set on intercepting the car. The shooting bore the hallmarks of South London's brutal gang feuds, clashes over turf and revenge, though its exact motive remained shrouded. Detectives suspected a link to the 67 gang, a notorious Brixton crew known for its grip on the streets, but the driver remained a mystery. In those fleeting moments, a spark was struck. Less than 24 hours later, that Audi would pull into a quiet Streatham street, straight into the crosshairs of armed police. But who was behind the wheel, and what drove them into this deadly game? To grasp the shadow that loomed over Chris Kaba's final days, we must enter the world of the 67 gang, a name that strikes fear in South London's estates. Emerging from Brixton Hill's SW9 postcode, named after its telephone code, 67 was no mere music collective, but a ruthless criminal network, its grip tightening on Lambeth streets through drugs, knives, and gunfire. By 2022, a Metropolitan Police report branded 67 the highest harmed street gang in the borough, linked to a relentless cycle of shootings, stabbings, and murders in a turf war with rivals like the 17 gang from Wandsworth Road. Their drill rap, pulsing with raw tales of violence, wasn't just art, it was a public ledger of their crimes, amassing millions of YouTube views while taunting enemies. In 2016, 67's tracks earned a MOBO nomination, but behind the beats lay a darker reality. A 2019 County Lines drug bust saw 16 members jailed for 61 years, exposing their heroin and crack empire stretching from London to rural towns. This was the crucible that shaped Chris Kaba, a 24-year-old whose life became entwined with 67's deadly code. Born on July 22, 1998, to Congolese parents Prosper Kaba and Helen Lemwanganu, Kaba grew up across South London's estates, Peckham, Brixton, Camberwell, where loyalty and survival were forged in the streets. Known to friends as a boisterous comedian who lit up rooms, he was also a father-to-be, a construction worker with dreams of a different life. But the pull of 67 proved stronger. As Maddox, or Mad Itch, Kaba rapped alongside gang members, his lyrics mirroring their brutal ethos. Court records confirm he was a core member, not just a performer, but a player in their violent game. Kaba's descent began early. In 2012, at 13, he was convicted for possessing a kitchen knife after a large fight, earning a youth referral order. Later that year, he faced a 2-year sentence in a young offenders institution for wounding with intent. By 17, in 2015, Kaba was convicted of affray and possessing an offensive weapon, a belt, after a gang assault on Streatham High Road, where a rival was stabbed and his arm broken. A nearby revolver was recovered, but Kaba wasn't charged for it. In 2017, at 19, he was stabbed in the stomach at an unlicensed music event in Romford, a stark reminder of the life he'd chosen. That same year, he was charged with possessing an imitation firearm with intent to cause fear after shots were fired in Canning Town. In 2019, at Snaresbrook Crown Court, he was sentenced to 4 years in a young offenders institution, released on license in 2020. Freedom was fleeting. In August 2020, Kaba was stopped for driving without insurance. A knife in his car sent him back to prison for 5 months. By April 2022, he faced a 28-day domestic violence protection order, barring contact with the mother of his unborn child. Then, on August 30th, 2022, Kaba's path darkened further. At the Oval Space nightclub in Hackney, during a Notting Hill Carnival after-party, he smuggled a handgun past security in a bag carried by 67-member Marcus Pottinger. CCTV captured Kaba, balaclava in pocket, stalking Brandon Malucci, a rival from the 17th gang. He fired, striking Malucci's left thigh on the dance floor, then chased him outside, shooting again, hitting his right leg. Malucci survived, airlifted to hospital, but discharged himself against medical advice. 367 members, Shemaiah Bell, Pottinger, and Connell Bamboy, were later jailed for their roles, with Bell driving the Audi Q8, same car that Kaba would retrieve the next day. Had Kaba lived, he would have faced trial for attempted murder. 6 days later, on September 4th, 2022, the Audi Q8 was linked to the Brixton shooting outside St. John's Crescent Primary School. Gunshot residue on Kaba's sleeve and cocaine in his system at his death suggested involvement, though no charges were laid. The car, not registered to him, carried the DNA of 5 others, including 67 associates, and was tied to a May 2022 Bromley shooting. Kaba's choices, music, guns, loyalty to 67, pulled him deeper into a world where every move was a gamble. Yet Kaba was unarmed when he died, a fact unknown to the police who pursued him. His gang ties, known only after his death, cast a long shadow, but they don't tell the whole story. Why did a young man with a family, a child on the way, choose this path? And what drove the police to see that Audi as a lethal threat? On the night of September 5th, 2022, those questions would collide in Streatham's Kirkstall Gardens, where 17 seconds would change everything. On September 5th, 2022, the streets of Streatham lay quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing in South London's underworld. At 10:07 p.m., Chris Kaba, 24, steered the black Audi Q8, flagged for its link to the previous night's Brixton shooting, into the narrow confines of Kirkstall Gardens. Unbeknownst to him, an unmarked police car had been tailing the vehicle, its plates a beacon in the Metropolitan Police's intelligence network. What unfolded in the next 17 seconds would ignite a firestorm, leaving a city grappling for answers. Sergeant Martyn Blake, a 41-year-old firearms officer with the Metropolitan Police's MO19 Specialist Unit, led the operation. Trained extensively in high-risk tactics, Blake had completed rigorous courses in use of force protocols, designed to assess threats in split seconds under pressure. His briefing was clear. The Audi Q8 was tied to a firearms incident, its driver a potential danger. As Kaba entered the dead-end street, armed police executed a tactical, hard stop. A marked BMW, driven by Blake, blocked the Audi's front, while 2 unmarked cars, a Volvo and another, sealed it from behind, boxing Kaba in. Armed officers leapt from their vehicles, carbines raised, shouting commands. Armed police, "Get out of the car," echoed 16 times, their voices sharp against the night. Kaba, hunched low in the driver's seat, did not comply. Instead, he revved the 2.5-ton Audi's engine, ramming the BMW forward at 12 miles per hour, then reversing into the Volvo at 8 miles per hour. The heavy vehicle rocked the police cars, endangering officers caught in the tight space. Blake, positioned in the BMW, saw Kaba's silhouette, but not his face. Believing his colleagues were fractions of a second from being crushed, he aimed his Sig Sauer carbine through the Audi's windscreen. A single shot rang out at 10:08 p.m., piercing the glass and striking Kaba in the head. Officers shouted, "Shots fired," As the Audi stilled, they pulled Kaba from the vehicle, blood streaming from his wound, and administered CPR on the pavement. Paramedics rushed him to King's College Hospital, but at 12:16 a.m., Chris Kaba was pronounced dead. A post-mortem confirmed the cause, a gunshot wound to the head. Critically, no firearms were found in the Audi or on Kaba, a fact unknown to Blake during those chaotic seconds. The car's link to gun crime, not the driver's identity, had driven the operation. In Kirkstall Gardens, flashing lights illuminated a bullet hole in the windscreen, a lifeless car, and a question that would haunt London. Was this shot necessary to save lives, or a fatal miscalculation? As the scene was cordoned off, the Independent Office for Police Conduct stepped in, tasked with unraveling the truth behind those 17 seconds. In the pre-dawn hours of September 6, 2022, Kirkstall Gardens stood silent, its pavement stained with the aftermath of Chris Kaba's death. As police tape sealed the street, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, arrived, tasked with unraveling the truth behind the fatal shot fired by Sergeant Martyn Blake. The stakes were immense. A 24-year-old black man, unarmed, had been killed by a trained firearms officer in a city already fractured by distrust. What followed was a meticulous probe that would test London's faith in justice. On September 9, 2022, the IOPC declared the case a criminal investigation, notifying Blake, identified as NX121 to protect his identity, that he was under scrutiny for murder. Investigators launched a comprehensive effort, collecting CCTV footage from nearby homes, interviewing residents, and analyzing forensic evidence from the Audi Q8 and police vehicles. Their focus was narrow. Was Blake's decision to fire, grounded in his training to neutralize imminent threats, justified, given no firearm was found in Kaba's possession? The IOPC's independence, designed to counter accusations of police bias, was critical as public anger grew. Kaba's family, supported by the charity inquest, pressed for accountability, their grief amplifying calls for justice. By March 2023, after 6 months of investigation and 700 lines of inquiry, the IOPC concluded there was sufficient evidence of criminality. They referred the case to the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, which, on September 20, 2023, charged Blake with murder, a rare and seismic decision against a firearms officer. The CPS emphasized that evidence, not public pressure, drove the charge, citing questions about whether lethal force was proportionate against an unarmed driver. The charge sent shockwaves through the Metropolitan Police. Over 100 firearms officers, fearing prosecution for split-second decisions, surrendered their weapons in protest, forcing the government to place the army on standby. Public voices clashed. Figures like Stormzy and Jeremy Corbyn highlighted systemic issues, noting black men are 6 times more likely to be stopped by the Met, per official data. Officers trained to act on intelligence like the Audi's gun crime link argued they were being unfairly targeted. As London grappled with these tensions, the investigation laid bare a deeper question. Could a system built on trust withstand the weight of this case? The answer would hinge on a trial, where Blake's fate and the city's would be decided. On October 2, 2024, London's Old Bailey courtroom became a crucible for a city divided. Sergeant Martyn Blake, the MO-19 firearms officer who fatally shot Chris Kaba, stood trial for murder, a charge that carried the weight of a grieving family, a fractured police force, and a nation watching. The 17 seconds in Kirkstall Gardens, where Blake fired a single bullet through an Audi Q8's windscreen, killing an unarmed Kaba, were dissected over 3 weeks, exposing raw tensions over race, policing, and justice. Blake, 41, took the stand, his voice steady. Trained to neutralize imminent threats, he testified he fired to protect colleagues, believing they were fractions of a second from being crushed by Kaba's ramming vehicle. His MO-19 training, rigorous courses in high-risk tactics, and lethal force protocols guided his split-second decision, driven by the Audi's link to a Brixton shooting, though he didn't know Kaba's identity or unarmed status. The prosecution countered that the Audi was nearly stationary when Blake fired, arguing his use of lethal force was disproportionate, possibly fueled by misjudgment under pressure. Another officer, milliseconds from firing, corroborated Blake's fear of imminent danger. The The jury, shielded from Kaba's 67 gang ties and criminal history by Mr. Justice Goss to avoid bias, focused solely on those 17 seconds. On October 21st, 2024, after 3 hours and 20 minutes of deliberation, they returned a unanimous not guilty verdict. Blake walked free, his anonymity lifted, and was reinstated by the Metropolitan Police. Outside the court, Kaba's family, backed by inquest, decried the verdict as a failure for those affected by police violence. Protests erupted, chants of "no justice, no peace," echoing through London streets. Social media split. Some hailed Blake as a hero. Others branded him a symbol of systemic racism, citing Met data showing black men are 6 times more likely to be stopped. The verdict reverberated beyond the courtroom. Met Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley warned that prosecuting officers risked crushing their spirit, endangering public safety as firearms officers hesitated to act. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper proposed anonymity laws for firearms officers facing trial, reflecting national concern over police morale. Mayor Sadiq Khan, overseeing the Met, called for trust building but faced criticism for equivocation. The trial exposed a chasm. Kaba's family saw racial bias in his death. Blake's supporters saw a man acting on training and intelligence. The case didn't end there. On April 30th, 2025, the IOPC announced Blake would face a gross misconduct hearing, alleging his use of force breached professional standards. Unlike the criminal trial's high bar of proof, this hearing would use a lower threshold, balance of probabilities, to assess whether Blake's actions were excessive. Kaba's family welcomed the move, stating through inquest, what Martyn Blake did was deeply wrong. The Met's Lawrence Taylor defended Blake's split-second decision, calling the hearing nonsensical. Firearms officers, already shaken by the murder charge, felt betrayed, with reports of further weapon surrenders. Blake, now in hiding due to a reported £10,000 bounty linked to gang retaliation, faced an uncertain future, his career on the line. As of June 21, 2025, the misconduct hearing, to be chaired by an external force for impartiality, loomed unresolved. Its outcome could cost Blake his badge or affirm his actions, but the case's wounds ran deeper, cutting to the heart of London's fractures. Could justice bridge the divide between a grieving family and a vilified officer? An inquest probing the broader circumstances of Kaba's death waits to answer. As of June 21, 2025, the Chris Kaba case remains an open wound in London's heart. Sergeant Martyn Blake, acquitted of murder, awaits a gross misconduct hearing that could end his career, its outcome hinging on whether his fatal shot at an unarmed Kaba was excessive. An inquest set to probe the broader circumstances of Kaba's death looms as a final chance for clarity, while his family, backed by inquest, continues their fight for accountability. A reported £10,000 bounty keeps Blake in hiding, a stark reminder of the case's ripple through London's underworld. This tragedy, 17 seconds in Kirkstall Gardens, holds a mirror to a divided city. It teaches us that trust between communities and those sworn to protect them frays when questions of race, force, and justice collide. Kaba's unarmed death, set against his gang ties and the police's split-second choices, reveals no easy villains or heroes, only hard truths about a system strained by distrust. London's black communities, 6 times more likely to face police stops per Met data, demand reform. Officers, trained to act on intelligence, fear vilification. If you found this case gripping, join us in chasing the truth. Share your thoughts in the comment, subscribe to Crime Pulse on YouTube, tap the bell, and dive into our community as we unravel the stories that shape our streets. See you in the next one.